Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're diving into something that feels straight out of a science fiction movie, but it represents a fascinating and, honestly, pretty terrifying reality we might actually face one day. We are looking at the realities of digitizing human consciousness. We've all heard the utopian pitches, right? Living forever in the cloud, total digital immortality. But today, we're going to explore the dark side of that equation. We're looking at data vulnerability when human minds literally become lines of code.
So we're kicking off this explainer with a massive, paradigm-shifting hypothetical. If human consciousness can actually be uploaded to a server, what happens when a virus wipes the database? Now, we aren't talking about losing your vacation photos or getting your credit card stolen here. We are talking about malicious code infiltrating the very infrastructure of human thought.
Okay, to really understand this kind of incoming mass casualty event, we need to quickly ground ourselves in two core concepts. First up, we have whole brain emulation, or WBE. This is the theoretical endpoint where a human mind is completely digitized and actively running on a server somewhere. Second, we have wiper malware. Now, unlike ransomware, which locks up data just to extort money, a wiper virus is designed solely to destroy data. It doesn't want to pay out, it just wants to burn the house down. But these two concepts together, and a standard security breach suddenly transforms into something we have literally never seen before.
Section 1. The ultimate transhumanist nightmare, a mass casualty event. If a wiper malware actually infected a database hosting digitized minds, it wouldn't just be an IT headache, it would be a mass casualty event. It would fundamentally reshape our entire understanding of death, law, and existence itself.
Moving right along to Section 2, Anatomy of a Digital Stroke, Experiencing Deletion. To truly grasp this, I want you to vividly imagine the visceral experience of a server getting wiped from the inside out. Like, what does it actually feel like to be a mind experiencing your own deletion? Well, as our source material outlines, it depends entirely on the state that consciousness is in when the attack happens.
This setup leaves us with two starkly contrasting and equally terrifying fates. On one hand, we have the mind in cold storage, meaning it's essentially paused. If the wiper malware hits here, it is absolute, instant non-existence. The data blocks containing the connectome, the entire map of neural connections, are simply overwritten with zeros. The person never wakes up. It's a mercifully quick end. But on the other side, we have the active or running mind. And wow, this is where it gets horrifying. As the virus sweeps through the server architecture, it manifests as a catastrophic, hyper-accelerated digital stroke.
Since data usually gets deleted sequentially or by fragmenting sectors, an active consciousness wouldn't just instantly shut off, it would degrade. First, specific faculties vanish. Language modules suddenly fail, leaving the mind completely unable to form coherent thoughts. Then, short-term memory violently corrupts. The mind is fully aware that it is unraveling layer by layer until finally the core processing loop hits a fatal error and everything just goes dark.
Now here's where things get really grim. What if the attack doesn't finish the job? What if the cybersecurity teams manage to isolate the virus halfway through its run? You don't just get saved, you get this horrifying data corruption dilemma. You might be left with a database of fragmented minds. Just imagine 20% of a consciousness database being overwritten with random bytes while the remaining 80% stays intact.
Missing 20% of your data does not mean you wake up with a mild headache. It results in a digital entity experiencing severe, irreversible cognitive fragmentation. We are talking about corrupted memories, hopelessly mixed with ghost data. Worse still, it could create loops of consciousness trapped in the totally unresolvable error state. Honestly, a partial deletion is arguably vastly worse than a complete deletion, because it leaves the mind stranded in a permanent, agonizing glitch.
Which naturally brings us to Section 3, the backup trap, the illusion of safety. Now, you might be sitting there thinking, hey, what about backups? Well, traditional IT practices might tragically fail in uploaded humanity.
In modern IT, the absolute gold standard for protecting critical data is the 3-2-1 backup strategy. It's pretty straightforward. You keep 3 copies of your data, you store them on 2 different types of media, and you keep 1 copy securely off-site and air-gapped. You would naturally assume a digital afterlife hosting human souls would rely heavily on this exact framework, right? But there is a massive flaw.
And that flaw is the management plane vulnerability. Modern cyber warfare shows us that sophisticated attackers don't just hunt for data anymore. They actively target the management plane.
If a virus or a bad actor gains administrative credentials, that whole 3-2-1 strategy becomes totally useless. The attacker can use those top-level admin rights to simultaneously wipe the primary servers, the cloud mirrors, and all the connected backups at the exact same time. The illusion of safety just shatters instantly. As our source material so chillingly puts it, for an uploaded humanity, an attack like this wouldn't just be a data disaster, it would literally be a localized extinction event. In a matter of seconds, an entire digital population, an entire society living on those servers, could be completely, permanently erased from existence.
Section 4. Murder or property damage, the legal and existential fallout. Because once the dust settles on this localized extinction event, the societal scramble begins. When human code is deleted, what crime was actually committed? We really have to explore the unprecedented legal and existential chaos that immediately follows an attack like this.
If this hits a courtroom, we're going to see an absolute clash of perspectives. On one hand, from a humanist viewpoint, you have homicide. Plain and simple, this was the murder of an active, digitized human mind. But on the other hand, the wealthy tech corporations hosting these servers would almost certainly fight to classify the event merely as data loss or property damage. To protect themselves from astronomical liability, they might argue it was just a severe terms of service violation. So the legal system would have to scramble to define whether deleting a mind constitutes murder or if it's legally the same as just breaking a hard drive.
And finally, we hit the profound philosophical horror of the backups that do survive. Let's say a pristine, air-gapped backup from 6 months ago actually does exist somewhere, and the company spins it up to replace the deleted consciousness. That restored person wakes up completely unaware that their previous digital self just endured a horrifying, agonizing deletion. They would have a massive half-year gap in their life. Which leaves us with this final lingering question. If they spin up a backup from 6 months ago, is that restored copy still you, or is it just a ghost taking your place? It becomes incredibly clear from this explainer that if we ever do manage to map the trillions of synapses required to upload a human mind, our greatest challenge won't actually be the neuroscience. It'll be building an unhackable vault to keep us alive.